Welcome back to Project Brupeg. We've been saving for quite a long time to afford a safer, bigger dinghy for projects and transport. Little Mishka, our aluminium homemade tender, has lasted well, but it's too small for ocean transport work. We always thought this dinghy would be great for buzzing around marinas, but it becomes a bit of a handful as soon as you get out into the open sea and you get a bit of chop. So our upgrade is an aluminium bottom inflatable side dinghy that's significantly larger. It's rated for 8 people and can take a 15 horsepower motor. It's a second-hand aluminium bottom with new inflatable tubes. You'll get between 10 and 13 years out of new inflatable tubes. This dinghy will be a brilliant dive and transport dinghy for us. Having new tubes is a huge relief, as we like that it's getting a second life rather than buying a completely new boat. However, it didn't quite work out as planned, as you'll see later in the episode.
Brupeg was a sunken fishing trawler that was stripped out and ready for the scrapyard. She's just completed a 10-year rebuild that's brought her back to life. With the help of volunteers and funded by our Patreons, community and subscribers, she'll be crewed by passionate people from around the world. If you'd like to be involved and support the project, please consider joining us on Patreon or subscribe to the channel. There's a link in the description below.
Right, this morning's job is take the outboard and the fuel line and the fuel tank out of Mishka and move them across into the new boat. So we've got a fuel strap thing so we can strap the tank down. Then going to set the anchor and everything up in this one here, and finally I'll put the outboard on the back of this. But before we put this stuff in here, the tank, the outboard, etc., we're going to get everything off this and throw Mishka in the water, because we want to bring the new one across while we've got the dock right behind the boat, and we're going to set it up to go on the davits here. So I've got to adjust the length of the splice probably on both of these to make it work.
We have about 100 jobs going at the moment. Please forgive us the mess on the boat. Everything is everywhere, but we're getting through it.
This is our old lifting strop from the small dinghy Mishka, so we're hoping to basically put it onto these stainless lifting strops. I just noticed the original one's got a broken sort of lifting lug. That one is the same. It's pretty thin, it's only like 3 mils aluminium, so maybe at some point I actually cut them off and make them slightly heavier, but for now we're just going to use this one down here, I think. Just took these out of the loop because they're kind of the weakest link. They do come open every now and again. They're bent, they're not strong enough, so because this is rounded, I'm going to go straight on there like that. Now I do have a chafe risk there and there, and you can see there's rope that's worn into that aluminium at some point, so I'm going to have to put something on there to deal with that, but for now I'm just going to see if that's actually going to work in terms of location. Alright, so I've got the V rope things hooked up. Now I don't need to worry about centre of gravity, so it doesn't matter if I put the fuel tank or the outboard on. It doesn't actually, centre of gravity is irrelevant. What I need to get is the correct height between this carabiner and this carabiner so that it lifts up even. The old dinghy used to lift up bow high, which basically means that this splice here needs to be made a lot shorter than it is, so move it up, I don't know, 6 inches, something like that. I just want to find out where we're sitting with this one, and then we can start adjusting splices to make sure we get it horizontal. Just lifted it, so we've got a tiny bit of tension on that front one, and the back one is still miles off, so we need to adjust this back one quite a bit. I think probably the easiest way to deal with this back one, because it's too short and it's always been a problem, we've previously put shackles to extend between the carabiner and the loop on the front one with the other dinghy, just to try and as a temporary fix. I think I'm just going to adjust the splice, so I'll probably take, I don't know, maybe 4 inches, 3 inches, something like that out of the actual distance here, so we'll just drop it down. Gives me a bit of room, and I can undo this splice and then redo it and see if we can adjust the length that way. Splicing Dyneema is probably one of the easiest ropes to splice. It's like a tube. Dyneema is like weaved like a tube. You can kind of see that line here, this central line, is actually the other end of this splice, and it can just slide easy up and down. I'm going to cut this heat shrink off because there's a lip on it. Alright, cut the end of that off. Now we should in theory be able to just open that right up and pull our Dyneema right down the centre like that. Done. And that's unspliced the Dyneema, and the Dyneema will pull itself straight and go back to looking like this up here. It'll go back to looking normal. It just needs a wee bit of tension on it to do that, but we want to knock out say 6 inches, so we'll go there. I know I said less than that earlier, but it doesn't really matter. Now if you actually splice it down this way with a fid, some fids, you can see this one here has a really tight end on it, if you go backwards with this one, so you splice from the top down, it's difficult one-handed, but basically you can hook that in like that, and you can actually pull it through. Other fids are like more open at this end, but this is the way this one's set up. With Dyneema, you basically push it apart, and you can see it all sort of spreads itself quite wide, like so. There you go. And then what that allows you to do is get your splicing fid and go right down the centre, and you can sort of bunch it up on itself. See that there, like all the way around? It's basically just the fid itself is going right down the centre of the Dyneema. You don't need to put any pressure, and you just basically push it against itself and it opens right up. It's pretty cool. So it's actually a really simple and easy line to splice if you're new to splicing and you want to give it a go. Dyneema is actually a really good one to try. So then once you've pushed it down and bunched it up on the fid, come back out cleanly between a couple of strands, and then like I was saying, you put this fid particularly, you put this in backwards, and you can use it to sort of hook your Dyneema. So you want to tuck that in. Sometimes it's a bit of a mission to push it the first wee bit. I actually use a bit of welding rod, push it all the way down, and it'll come out this end here, and then we can hook it and use it to pull all the way through. So just like that, you can kind of feed it all the way through, and it'll come out that end of your fid. So then you want to pull it tight, make sure you got your thimble in place where you want it. Just work that right the way up there, pull your Dyneema tight, get that thimble right up in there nice and snug like that, and then you want to just start pulling your fid out of the Dyneema. So once you got the fid out and you got that there, you can just quite literally pull the Dyneema tight, and the tighter you pull that, the harder it's going to grab. So that is how you splice Dyneema. And then so you get a really clean end at this end, basically push your Dyneema back down, cut the end off so that it's going to be shorter than where it comes out, and then pull it back, and the whole thing will completely submerge below the surface of the actual outer Dyneema. So you get this really beautiful smooth surface going onto the splice itself. I think I've got it right now, so when I lift up, there we go, they're both lifting pretty much at exactly the same time. So let's just see if that actually works for the davits. I've got to take quite a long way, eh? Yeah, I've got to take quite a bit out of the back. That much rope. See, the front one's already bound up, so I've got to take that much rope out of the back. So first go at it, and front is tight, so the front's okay, but I need to take quite a bit of length out of this one here. So let's do that. We'll re-splice this back one and get it ready to go. The reason I messed up was because it's sitting on the aluminium bottom on a flat surface, and that's never how it sits on the sea. So it sort of like, it was lined up to lift it evenly from the bottom here, but that's not how it needs to work. It needs to basically lift up with the tubes guiding. So the front, it's hard to describe, but the front basically sits deeper into the water, the V sits into the water, and the tubes sit level on the surface of the water. So therefore it sort of tilts, if you make sense, the floor tilts downwards a little bit like that. So when we lift it, it needs to be bum first in order to be like correct. So I've marked where I need a splice. You can see I've got a little black mark there. We'll go to there and we'll see how far off it is. What I was saying earlier about finishing this off, so what you want to do is pull back ever so slightly on the main line. So you've got this sticking out a wee bit. Take some pretty sharp scissors in this case and cut this. You kind of don't want this. I was thinking about this earlier, would you cut this with a hot knife? You could, but I think you're actually better to not cut it with a hot knife and better off to cut it with something that doesn't have any ability to stop this from fraying, just like a bit of old scissors or whatever, because when you pull that back, it smooths that join out. It disappears into that join really nicely if it can do its own sort of settling, rather than if you cut it with a hot knife and you kind of like melt the ends of it. So yeah, let's give that one a shot. from the ground I can't see the front one, but you can see that back one is sort of nicely up the top, and with the camera up you can see that front one, and also the bars, the tubes themselves are really close to the bars. So do we need to adjust anything? What I'm hoping to get is the inflatable tube on both sides evenly touching the davit so as it comes up, because then it doesn't try to do weird rocking and stuff. We do tie it when we go to sea, we tie it so that it doesn't crash around or do anything silly, but it's kind of, I don't want it to just be sitting off one side, I want it to be even off both. Alright, different rope, and I've got it about maybe 75mm, 3 inches shorter, so we'll see if that's going to work. Alright, now it's very close to being perfectly even, so if you look along the side there, you can kind of see that it's basically level. I'll try and show you up. So the distance between the back of the tube and the front of the tube is pretty close to the davit, so you can see there, they're pretty close to touching evenly. And then the splices themselves are pretty close to being even as well. I think that's as good as we're going to get it. And then we'll just basically tie it up when we're travelling so that it doesn't rock and chafe and do things like that. Alright, let's get the outboard and things on it. While I'm working on this, Alena is over the back. She's stripping down the door that's in the bathroom, because through here I've got quite a bit going on the boat. This wall's been painted and reassembled. We've got roof panels being glued back in, hence we've got the beam of death. We've taken the door off the bathroom so that we can paint the other side of it is brown. We're painting the brown colour basically to be the 2-pack white that we've used up here. To do that, obviously we need to strip everything off, set everything up with sawhorses and start painting that. So she's getting that done while we get the dinghy ready. So while we're at one of the most gorgeous places on the planet, Magnetic Island, we thought it was time to strip the boat apart and paint this wall. This is how we did it. First off, stripping it down. Ventilation pipes had to go, cat shells had to go, whiteboards had to go, and any other miscellaneous bits and bobs sticking out of the wall had to be dealt with. While we had the ventilation pipes off, we gave them a quick clean and then got into the sanding. And because I'm a welder, I started sanding with a grinder. I'm helping. Alright, I'm looking for random stuff sticking out that needs to be cut off. These are the ventilation pipes for our cabin downstairs, so that we could sleep at night and not have the smell of sanded epoxy or new paint going down into our room. We decided to throw the pipes back in, and then we'll take them back out in the morning when we do the painting. Jess and Alena gutted the lounge yesterday, the saloon, and Alena sanded this wall, and what we're doing now is going through with Joe Domestic 90 on any of the bare steel. So there's like areas where you got little nicks and stuff and bolt holes and things. So all of this is getting touched up with epoxy etch so that we can then put our top coat on, because we've got something lovely that's going on over here. Mishka is going to be used, get a second life actually. Not only is it still capable of being a dinghy if we ever want it to, but it's a perfect bin for rubbish, because over the last few days Alena has been basically collecting all of the junk that's been in the water around this harbour. She's been doing it with the kayak over there, but we're going to make things a lot more efficient by being able to go places in the big dinghy, tow this because she's running out of physical space in the kayak, so towing this as our barge, and then we'll be able to load this up. We've got a wheelie bin that's arriving in a couple of days that'll go on the back of Brupeg. That'll just be a part of regular stuff for us. Whenever we go to a beach, we'll pick up what we can find, and then when we go to more remote places, we'll use this as like a little rubbish barge to bring it back to the boat and then get it out of the sea. So rubbish collection, something we're taking on. Door progress, everything's stripped off, ready to start sanding. Now we do need to shave on this end here. You can see that sort of scuff mark all the way along there. We've got a scuffed area for the door here, so we need to shave it off a little bit because it's jamming up. Once we can do that, we can then come round and put this sort of flexi rubber seal all the way around the door. We'll be able to steam tight this door. So the door plan is to sand it with 240 grit, so quite a fine grit. We're going to get a nice flat surface on there so that we can then put our nice 2-pack hardtop ultra on the top of it. But down here we're trying to get the glue on early. Alena is prepping our walls for insulation. So what we're going to do, this is all below the waterline, so we have to allow condensation to be able to always run down from the steel, because the steel gets lots of different temperatures, down into the bilge and get pumped out. But we need to insulate this. So the way we do it, we've got some blocks of timber. We glue them on in a V pattern. I'll show you one that's already done. You get glued on like that, and then you get about a 4mm ply on top of that there, and you've always got like that gap at the back of the plywood that the water can run down. Now these have been epoxied, so this is just clear epoxy, the other stuff's white epoxy. Basically the water can run down the back, go into the bilge, and we can put as much insulation on top of that as we want. Now we bolt timber vertical to these ribs here, and that's what the wall panel screws onto. So get this V blocked up, because then the glue can dry, the smell can dissipate. We've got the 4mm ply that's going on top. It's a hardwood ply that's going on top. We're going to cut that out. That's arriving on Monday, and we have to epoxy that as well, because basically everything that goes in here has to be capable of going underwater. So we just epoxy everything as a rule. And we've got some timber. We can probably start bolting the timber, and we've got that timber already, so we can probably start bolting that in over the next day or two as well. So once we've got that done, that will be ready to start the insulation. And then we've also got vertical wood beams that get bolted to that front bulkhead. This is the back of the water tank, and you've got these metal tags. So we bolt a piece of wood that goes between here and the tag at the bottom, and that's like it's not structural, but it's basically what the wall is able to then screw onto. Work progresses out the back. I think it's becoming a regular feature, keeping our cheap scooters running. So this one has possibly got wet electrics and completely died, so I have full replacement electrics for this one. That was $25 US, so ooh, big spender. That one over there, I've replaced the charge port on it yesterday, and then it started doing weird stuff when I plugged the battery back in and zapping things that it shouldn't be zapping, motor going forward, motor going back. I don't know what is going on with that one, so I'm gonna see if I can get Duncan to have a look at it. This little black one here is running perfect, but it doesn't have a lot of speed or range, so we sort of use that when we have to, but at the moment that's the only scooter we've got that's working. So I've pulled the brains out of this thing. What I'm really hoping is I can just swap this controller as a like for like swap, and then I don't have to do all the electrics that go down the handlebars of this thing, because that's a pain in the neck. You can see they've foamed it in and stuff, which we could rip apart if we really had to, but it's a pain. I want to avoid that. This is pretty new. That is a lie, but we put this in not that long ago, I don't know, a month or something ago, and then pretty much straight away this here got wet, died. So anyway, once we've replaced this is practically back to new electronics again. We've noticed that in the new boat the driver's quite short. I know.
Suddenly
Yeah. It's not a problem I thought that we'd have. Yeah. None of this is the result of the maiden trip. We did slightly start thinking. We've got to figure out where the actual leak is. We don't think it's coming from the bung, like it's not coming in the self-bailer, but also the self-bailer isn't draining the water out. So there's two separate things going on. Self-bailer's not working and there's a hole somewhere. Time to put the dinghy back together. The fix was relatively simple. I don't know if it's going to work fully. So this is our little flapper valve thing so water can come out, but water in theory won't go in. I don't think that's going to work because that's not going to seal water at all. However, what we can do on this side is we've got a bung. There we go, just like a bung that you'd have in a sink. We can pop that in and out, push that in tight, and I'm hoping that that's enough to stop it while we're just sitting there, because that ain't going to do bugger all. But that'll allow us to drain it as we're cruising along.
And now it's still leaked. We've got to find out what's going on.
So strip the outboard and fuel tank off the boat. We have dragged it back to the davits. We're going to lift it up, fill the inside with water, and try and find out where is this leak coming from.
Up there. You can dig that with your fingernail.
Huh, there is a hole. I think we found the problem. So it was the hole Jess found right there, and there's another one there, but I think that could well just be dribbling down, and there's another one right there. There's quite a few. Jeepers. There's two distinct holes. There's one there and there's one up here. Have a look at this quickly before it gets wet.
Yeah. Oh no.
See, there's a hole there and there's a hole there. Yeah.
No wonder it was filling up.
Yeah. So last little bits are coming off. So this was a bracket that held the old bed, and you can see where are we? Here we go. There's a nut, and used to be a bolt on that side. There's a nut there, used to be a bolt that side. That's how they bolted the old vertical wood. What we need to do, take this piece as an example. We need to bolt the timber on its edge like that, so you can sort of see it that way, and then we screw the plywood walls to that. But we have to bolt this piece of timber has to be bolted in a very specific depth, because otherwise we're either not going to have enough room for the insulation or we're going to have too much and it'll all be sloppy. The other job that we've got this morning is we've got some timber that we need to cut down the centre to size. So we need to cut it 60 millimeters coming out, and it gets bolted onto these brackets top and bottom. So there'll be one beam there, another over there, and then the blank panel that's in the middle we'll put polystyrene in, and that allows us to put the wall onto that side as well.
While I'm off the boat for something, Dame and Alena carry on building bunks. Next week we decide on what to do with our holy dinghy. We don't have long before we head to Cairns, so we've got to get to it. See you soon.
You got eyes like summer sky. If you're smart, good.